So, outer space has its own set of rules. There are some things you simply cannot do up there that you may take for granted here on Earth. This includes stuff like eating your favorite snacks to taking a refreshing shower. You'll be amazed at how different life can be beyond our planet's atmosphere. And to let you know of all of that, we have put together a list of 10 such activities that you won't be able to enjoy in space. Let's start off with how we can't even go for a walk. So why can't astronauts step outside their spacecraft and enjoy a casual walk? Well, it all comes down to the lack of gravity. In space, there's no solid ground to support our weight or keep us grounded. And without gravity, our bodies would just float freely. So it's almost impossible to walk in the traditional sense. But the good news is that scientists and engineers are working on developing new technologies like spacesuit with artificial gravity systems or magnetic boots to help astronauts move around more naturally in the future. Next thing is that you can't even sit on the toilet seat. Then how do astronauts handle their bathroom business? Well, they can't just plop on a regular toilet seat like we do. So in space, they have to strap themselves in, like literally strapping into the toilet, to make sure everything goes where it's supposed to go. Now, thirdly, you can't use a regular pen in space. Well, this is also about gravity or the lack thereof. So, you see, regular pens rely on gravity to make the ink flow smoothly onto the paper. And up there in space with no gravity, things can get a little tricky. But that only goes for a regular pen, as NASA folks came up with a space pen that uses pressurized cartridges to push the ink out, so it can work even in the absence of gravity. On number 4, let's talk about how you can't even shed a tear in space. You see, here on Earth, when we cry, the tears just flow down our cheeks because of gravity. But up in space, where gravity is taking a coffee break, tears don't follow the same rules. Without gravity to pull them downwards, tears cannot escape your eyes like they normally would. Instead, they stick around and form little teardrop blobs that keep floating in front of your eyes. So, where do these tears go? Well, astronauts often use tissues or wet wipes to clean their eyes. Next up, at the 5th spot, is the fact that you have no access to fresh water. Sadly, astronauts can't just step outside the spacecraft and scoop up a cup full of cool, clear water from the river or a lake. So then, how do they quench their thirst and stay hydrated in the vastness of space? Well, they just bring along all the water they'll need for drinking, cooking, and even hygiene. But what happens if they run out of their precious water supply? In that case, they have a system called the Water Recovery System on the International Space Station. And this system basically recycles and purifies water from various sources on board, like sweat, breath, moisturizer from the air, and even recycle urine. It might sound a little gross, but trust me, they've got some super high-tech filtration systems that can make it safe and clean. Next up is the fact that there's no sun for you to enjoy up there. That's right, no soaking up the warm rays or getting that golden tan. In space, it's like a never-ending blanket of blackness. But why can't our intrepid astronauts bask in the sunshine like we do here on Earth? Well, it all comes down to the lack of an atmosphere to act as that protective layer. And without it, the sun's rays are unfiltered and extremely intense. So much so that they could cause some serious harm to one's eyes and skin. Now up next, let's discuss how you can consume specific foods and drinks in space. So you can't have bread because crumbs float and cause problems, so tortillas are used instead. You can't have carbonated drinks because without gravity, bubbles don't fizz, so they're just not enjoyable. Then you can't also have salt and pepper as sprinkling doesn't work, so liquid alternatives are used. You won't have access to fresh milk, so dehydrated milk is preferred as it requires less space and no refrigeration. Next is pizza, because it's hard to get a crispy crust in space. And lastly, you can't have alcohol in space, and that's because of ethical concerns. Now, at the 8th spot, let's discuss how you cannot even enjoy the comfort of sleeping in a cozy bed. Well, that's because firstly, there are no regular beds in space. Astronauts sleep in small sleeping bags attached to the walls of their spacecraft or space station. And besides that, you can't really lie down because of lack of gravity and you'll just end up floating around in sleep. So you'll need straps and Velcro to stay in place while sleeping. And now we have some bad news for gym freaks. And it is that you cannot maintain your muscle mass in space. That's because without gravity, you won't have any natural resistance for weightlifting or building muscles. But you can still have a space workout routine. For this, astronauts use special equipment that basically mimics weightlifting, like resistance machines and bungee cords. They also do cardio exercises like running on a space treadmill or cycling to keep their hearts and lungs strong. So while they may not have the same heavy lifting, they can still manage to stay fit. And lastly, you cannot put out fire the same way you would on Earth. So on Earth, when there's a fire, we use water or fire extinguishers to douse the flames. But in space, the flames don't behave the same way. They form scary spheres instead of just flickering up. So to tackle these unique space fires, astronauts use special fire extinguishers that release gases or powders to remove the oxygen. Fire could be a safety hazard in space, so they also receive extensive training to handle any potential fire situations. And they obviously know how to use those space-friendly extinguishers effectively. Well, with that, it's a wrap on our list of 10 things you can simply not do in space. So, tell us, if you had the chance to go to space, which of these things do you think would you miss the most? Will it be your favorite foods, or the simple pleasure of sleeping in a bed? Or maybe basking under the sun? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, give us a big thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on our new content. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.